All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We have a Friday non-late swap slate here for you guys, at least for DraftKings. FanDuel, they are actually cutting the late night game off the slate as well, which you guys are going to see DraftKings-wise. That's where we're getting a lot of our ownership. So it's kind of a unique slate, especially in terms of giving you guys advice. What are your kind of initial thoughts for today's slate, Chuck?
Well, I still don't know if I'm a fan of the no late swap, but the number one thing I think today for me that I'm thinking about is James Harden. If he ends up, let's say he gets ruled out like 1 minute after lock and Bones Highland's starting again, he's the best play on the slate. If James Harden plays and you play a bunch of Bones Highland, not being able to late swap off him, he's probably one of the worst plays on the slate. So really big risk reward opportunity today. But that's like the main decision that I'm wrestling with right now, because I built as if Harden is out and I'm getting all the bones, PG, Kawhi. But there's a few interesting spots that we can find on the no late swap strategy.
And I feel like that kind of answers Jose's question. That's your biggest stand, I think, right now is just loading up on Bones Highland. We only have him projected for 15 minutes right now, which probably not enough to get there. But again, if Harden's out, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the live stream. Like last non-late swap, we saw De'Aaron Fox was questionable. And we mentioned that Malik Monk is going to be a GPP winner if like De'Aaron Fox is out and he's going to be, no one's going to own him. And Monk could get there by himself, and that's exactly what ended up happening. This is a slightly different situation. Maybe like Terrence Mann is more Malik Monk in that regard, where he gets a slight bump if Harden's out, could still hit value if he plays.
Yeah, I think a big difference is like Bones Highland should be on most people's minds today because we just saw it yesterday. He put up 50. But like with the De'Aaron Fox Malik Monk thing, I don't think Malik Monk went off the game before. Like he was gonna, like he came in with low ownership regardless.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't on people's minds, but Bones is on people's minds today. So I imagine he's still gonna pull some kind of ownership if we don't get that Harden news before lock. And the other big difference too is like Malik Monk, if you played him that day, he could still get there with De'Aaron Fox in.
Yeah.
But with James Harden in today, if he plays, I don't know if Bones Highland can really get there often enough for it to work. Like you're probably just dead if James Harden's in and you do this.
And those are the decisions that we have to make today with non-late swap. Honestly, that's what kind of makes it fun. It's kind of the risk reward nature of it.
Lost you.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see here. But let's jump into some news here. We're gonna jump into kind of Utah. I think is kind of the best spot for news. So we know that they are pretty banged up news-wise. Can you hear me, Chuck? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're getting a lot of ownership for Utah right now, basically because Jordan Clarkson's out, Chris Dunn is out, Lauri Markkanen's out. Taylor Hendricks is currently questionable. He could actually move the needle for me with some of these other like bigs that we could be on, but we're seeing a lot of ownership go to Horton Tucker, Colin Sexton, and also Keontae George. Are you kind of fine eating that chalk on DraftKings?
Dude, was somebody else out last time? Like, who's out today? Why is THT getting more minutes now?
Was Jordan Clarkson out the last game or not? That's what I was wondering.
Okay, okay. I can't remember. I feel like he was in, but yeah, this is the other spot that stood out to me. Taylor Horton Tucker. I mean, he was the highest ownership when I was looking at it earlier. I have no idea what to do with this. It's just his minutes are so volatile. I don't think he's going to end up starting no matter what. But even then, he like kind of just has to play minutes off the bench. They're decimated, so probably
But
going to end up getting there.
that's where I'm like, if Hendricks does play, I know he's like too
Mhm.
high priced, but like, does that hurt Horton Tucker? Because in my head, it does enough.
It could, yeah. Like who was the guy? So Salmonich, I think, was the guy that the field was kind of on a couple games in a row, and then it was
Hmm.
Bryce Sensabaugh that actually kind of broke out at super low ownership. But his price came up. I'm still somewhat interested in him at pretty low ownership, just with the thought that I mean we haven't projected for 29 minutes. He probably just has to play.
Hmm.
But then, I mean, if you don't want to go to like these deep guys like THT, I'm mixing in either way. But Sexton, Keontae George, and John Collins, mostly Sexton and Keontae George, they look pretty good at the point guard position too.
Yeah.
So I think those are the priorities for me from this team.
I was trying to make a I tried to make a lineup this morning, failed, and I tried to make a lineup before this video, also failed. I started with just the two guards, Keontae George and Colin Sexton. So that should tell everyone how I feel about this slate. I've tried and failed twice now, so it's not sexy.
No, but we're having fun, right?
No, honestly, we'll talk through it. And like my thought when like if I can't come up with like a good lineup that I like, the whole field probably can't do that as well. Typically, like I feel like those are the most risk reward slates that there are. If it's not like clear and obvious for every or for myself, it's probably not going to be the same for everyone else, and so can kind of
Yeah,
gain an edge that way.
I completely agree. If everyone's having a tough time, I do think that we're going to be able to navigate it a little bit better. So, but like I do get like this is a difficult slate. I don't think this is an easy slate. The no late swap
Yeah.
doesn't make things any easier at all. And Barry in the chat, done is out. Thank you. That's who I was trying to figure out.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Other news spots. I mean, a little bit of Toronto, not too much. I mean, Gary Trent, game time decision. We know that Barnes is out, Barrett out, Boucher, Joachim Pertl. We have seen Kelly Olynyk really go off with Joachim Pertl, really be consistent with Joachim Pertl off the court. Bruce Brown has had back to back 2 good games. Emmanuel quickly continues to go off. And I thought I would want to load up on Toronto, but then again, they're going up against Orlando. So are you worried about that matchup? Because to me, this is one of those matchups that I actually do kind of worry about a little bit.
I think this is a matchup I like the least in the whole NBA, and it's like I really like Emmanuel quickly in his role right
Yeah.
now, especially he's still under 9K on both sides. And but it's like this Orlando matchup. Someone asked about matchups the other day. Like this is a worse one, not just
Yeah.
because they're good on defense, but they don't give up as many fantasy points as other teams. And the total is actually not bad today, 218.5.
It's
I would have
not.
expected it like 10 points lower, maybe. But I'm still interested in quickly on DraftKings if he's going to come in sub 10%.
Yeah.
Just pretty high risk. And then we did just get news Gary Trent is in today. So
Is he? Okay.
I think he's an okay GPP play. The ownership on
Yeah.
FanDuel seems kind of insane. But the other player I wanted to mention, so you mentioned Kelly Olynyk, and he's been one of the best fantasy producers per minute since he's
Mhm.
been in the starting role. The problem is Jonte Porter seems to be pretty good, and he's coming off the bench, taking minutes away from Kelly. And at 7K, I think Kelly's a GPP play. It sucks he's center only on
Yeah.
DraftKings. And then I was going to mention Jonte Porter is a pretty deep shot, but we're not interested in him like we were the other day when he was like $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. I believe everyone that was in that price range that we were kind of on had a good game. So it's just kind of which one did better, which
Right.
happens.
So
Uh,
random.
what about Bruce Brown? Because now he's a little bit priced up and just feels more difficult to get to.
I don't know. Like Bruce Brown had that blow up game against Denver, right? Was that like a revenge thing? I know Quickly was out that game, but
Yeah.
RJ Barrett is going to be out for a while. You know, prayers up for him and his family. But like with Bruce Brown, I don't know, 2%. It's like a deep shot GPP play. I don't think I'm getting there today, though. I mean, if we're targeting anyone from this team, I think it's got to be Quickly Olynyk, maybe Gary Trent, hoping he gets hot.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was you the last time Bruce Brown was out, but one of the other hosts, I was pretty much saying my concern with Bruce Brown is that like I think his ceiling is that 35 fantasy point night that we had from him against
Yeah.
Detroit,
Yeah.
which is great, but like we've seen the other side of that as well.
Yeah, and it's like it's a good point because that's basically like the best we can hope for. Sure, he's capable of putting up more. He will in his career, but
Yeah.
at 6K today, like even if he say puts up that 35 fantasy points, you're not upset about it. But I
No.
think the chances of him doing that outweigh the risk of playing him. So
And I do think it's worth calling out real quickly as well. It's just Grady Dick had a bad game, still played a lot of minutes, and it kind of just seemed like, oh, it's more of a Bruce Brown game. And who's to say that can't flip? Now, Grady Dick's been kind of bad over the past 4 games, 5 games, but he's still playing a lot of minutes.
yeah, it's just above 5K and against Orlando, it's going to be a
Yeah,
tough sell for me.
yeah. No, I agree. Any other spots that you want to mention, like injury wise, before we really dive into it? I know Atlanta's banged up. Charlotte's still banged up.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson and Bogdanovich are questionable. I kind of lean towards Jalen Johnson plays and Bogdanovich doesn't. That's not based on anything, but just whatever I read on Twitter a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty much it. I think we're pretty good on like no surprise news anyway. Like we'll talk about Charlotte when we get to the guards with their point guard situation, but everything looks
Mm-hmm.
good for the other
We'll
teams.
say if that does happen, it's the Cray Chase slate.
Mm-hmm.
That's my that'll be my bold stance as well.
All
So
right, let's get it.
let's get into a couple of comments here. So we got Unicorn Love saying that he loves Rozier tonight on FanDuel. So we got a couple of FanDuel calls from him.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then let's see here. Yusuf Nurk as well against Charlotte. I don't mind that. It's kind of priced up. Do you like either of those two? Are you fading either of those two?
I think I was getting to Rozier a little bit on DraftKings. He's slightly cheaper, so he's basically the same play probably. Problem is just there's a lot of guards I like on DraftKings, so it's really hard to get more than a few percent of everyone else. And then Nurkic against Charlotte, I mean, seems like a pretty good spot. This is like I feels like a few slates in a row we've had not very strong takes on centers. I don't have a
Yeah.
very strong take on center today either. So anyone you throw at me, yeah, like I'll get a few percent of Nurk. That seems great.
Yeah, that seems fair as well. Let's go ahead and jump on then into the guards here. So you kind of mentioned you're getting to a lot of guards. Any ones in particular?
Yeah, let me sort my exposures.
Because
Well,
we are
go
getting
ahead.
a lot of ownership from the guard position tonight. I mean, we
Yeah.
have several players above 20% on DraftKings. FanDuel, obviously, we're taking the late night game off. Still a lot of chalk to go around there as well.
I mean, so here's the thing. Like, I think you do have to make a conscious decision on whether you think James Harden plays or not today. Like, right now, I'm probably not going to go into lock like this, but I have Bones Highland in almost every lineup that I made today.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I don't know if this is worth the risk. I'll probably come down on that a little bit, but he's taking up so many guard spots for me. And it's
Yeah,
kind of like the field isn't going to get there nearly as much. So
no.
I'm going to be under on everyone else. And so I just kind of I'm really banking on this play working out. But love DeJounte on the high end. I think Duncan Robinson's a pretty decent GPP play. It's surprising he's pulling any ownership, but I think we can get there. And then Paul George, I like. Just scrolling down.
Yeah.
Gary Trent, Jamal Murray, Colin Sexton, uh, Keontae George. So I think there's a lot of stuff to like
Yeah.
here tonight, but I think I'm going all in on my James Harden's not playing take.
I think that's fair. And honestly, probably not a terrible idea. With a late night swap, that's a who. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if he lets you down, Bones Highland, like you can kind of stomach it, knowing the reason why you're going for it, right? Like because of the upside.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's not even 100% guaranteed he goes off again if Harden's out. So it's like kind of like a double risk. But at the
Yeah,
ownership I think he's coming in at, I'll take it.
yeah. I'm really in on Keontae George. At least I'm kind of a sucker for him. I feel like he's just too cheap. The ownership I get 29%, probably a little bit too high, but 36 minutes. He's like my one favorite play that I can really get behind tonight. And then from there, like I'm kind of just with the field, honestly. I haven't really gotten too crazy with it. I mean, I still like Brandon Miller a decent amount more than the field. That's probably my biggest take. And then I will say maybe I do get on Krejci a little bit, but that's really about it.
Yeah, it's like I mean, starting by DK value, these 3 Utah guards are the top of value. THT
Mhm.
is far above the rest. If he plays the 21 minutes, then yeah, he's probably going to be one of the better values on the day. But yeah, I think these 3 Utah guards. I mean, Gary Trent, I mentioned, as a fine GPP play.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray's showing up. I really don't know that I love much else though, other than the guys I already mentioned.
Yeah, and then we'll kind of show FanDuel as well a little bit more. We are getting a little bit more concentrated ownership, I guess. Bruce Brown not at that high price, Garrett Trent not as high priced, and obviously you're cutting off a game there, but they kind of feel like easier plays there. And same thing with Duncan Robinson, where typically FanDuel is a little bit higher priced, but those I don't want to say they're easy plays, but they kind of feel like safe plays.
I like it. And then I did want to mention, so Charlotte point guard situation, they're starting Micic and Trey Mann, presumably. I
Mhm.
wanted to see if you had any thoughts on Micic today, because I think I'm off Trey Mann, but Micic is still interesting.
I think I would almost rather do the opposite, honestly, but like that's more GPP take wise.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
to answer your question, no, I don't want to be on him. I just would rather be on Brandon Miller. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
it, were you gonna give some conviction there with those two?
No, not at all. I'm interested in Micic, but that's about it.
Yeah, my issue is that I feel like we're seeing the best of him right now, and I just feel like it's gonna fall off here shortly. And
Okay.
maybe it doesn't, but
Okay.
it's a weird part of the season to me.
This is the worst part of the season. Like, dude, it happened again yesterday. The winning lineup was all chalk, and so it's really tough right now in these NBA DFS streets.
One player that popped up that I don't think I've really paid any attention to is the Stanley guy. I don't know. I To be honest, I don't know him. Shooting guard. He's getting 7 and 8% for projection, but he's only projected to get 13.5 minutes. Is that just like a strange thing? And we got Marcus Sasser, who's also projected to get some ownership. I'm kind of just, do we know what's going on with Detroit there? Is that just like people are thinking they're going to get blown out? They want to get some values in there.
This, like with Stanley, is it Amude? Amude?
That
Oh,
seems right.
all right, Stanley. I'm gonna assume
Yeah.
this is a thing where his projection is like, I don't know, 15, 16 points around the industry, and optimizers
Yeah.
are just putting him in because 15, 16 at his price isn't bad. But it's like the optimizer is gonna say it's good, but what do you really need to take down a GPP with him in your lineup?
Mhm.
If he really only has potential to play, like I know he played 29 minutes a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
25 like back in November, but this seems like just way too thin of a spot
Mhm.
at
Like,
that ownership. Like that's
yeah.
super high for this type of player.
it, it is. Like Sasser kind of makes sense, but he's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
getting high owned there as well. But he feels like a safer value play if you're trying to get there. But 16% as well, it's like, yeah, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, at least Sasser. I mean, he's still only playing around 20 minutes too, but I
Yeah.
guess I do feel better about Sasser. A little more expensive. I don't think I'm really getting too much there. I mean, they're playing Miami. Miami's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. Let's see if we have any questions as well. So, yeah. So, this is a fun, like, we don't think, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're not saying Highlands is going to repeat what he had last game. You're just saying he's just way too cheap if Harden does it, right?
Yeah, like I'm not playing him with the expectation that he puts up 50 if Harden sits. I am expecting mid 20 something at the very least. But it's a lot of it's just an ownership thing. Like he's still going to pull ownership no matter what, I think, because he super went off yesterday. But if he comes in like think about what percent ownership would he be showing at right now if we knew Harden was out? Would he not be the highest owned player on the slate? And no
Yeah.
matter what,
Yeah.
he's coming in lower than that, right? Or if he's not the highest, he'd be among the highest owned because his price didn't really come up, and so it's just I think he's going to come in far under his deserved ownership if we do get the Harden news, and so just going to take the risk. But like I said, like if he gets like 26, I'll be
Yeah.
pretty happy with that. But I'm playing him with the expectation that he can put up 30 plus. So
I do have a question with you. I would almost like my suggestion, and you don't have to take it, would be like, if you are doing that, playing Bones Highland that much, like, why not set a rule to have in lineups that include Bones Highland? Why not set a rule to also have Kawhi Leonard and or Paul George, like one of those two? Because they're probably too cheap if Harden sits.
yeah, I don't hate it. I don't want to restrict myself by having to do that, but I am
Yeah.
getting a lot of Paul George, and then I'm getting a bunch of Kawhi. I'm still much well over the field on both of
Yeah.
those guys, so I'm gonna naturally
Gotcha.
get a bunch of lineups together.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, let's see here. So Detroit should keep it close. Yeah, I mean Miami is still banged up. Detroit's been playing better, but I don't know. That probably doesn't help those values, for that matter.
No, no. I mean, are we going back to Fontecchio?
He does kind of seem like the play, and we can move on into forwards there. So Thompson is still out, and Fontecchio has been pretty consistent. He is popping up as the best value both on DraftKings and FanDuel today. Still not too high priced. Still not getting too much ownership. I mean, no one really is getting too much ownership there for the forwards, but he does feel safe. Is that fair to say?
I thought he was safe last time, and this dude had like
Yes.
one rebound, so I don't know.
Yes. I know. But the minutes are there and the shot attempts are there. I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, I will say this feels like a kind of similar situation to Amon Thompson the last two times he was on the slate, where he was super chalk, failed, and then the next time out, Amon Thompson ended up going off yesterday. Still pulled the chalk ownership, but today, I mean, granted, that was a much better matchup than what Fontecchio has today. But Fontecchio, people aren't chasing like they were last time, and I mean, he's basically the same play. I think his price came up a couple $100, but I mean, I'll be over the field on Fontecchio. I think he's fine. Model's telling us to play him, so I'm going to listen to the
Yes.
model.
Yeah. Um so like I don't know if I probably shouldn't have said safe, but like I don't know how else to describe it. Like given the price, given how well he's like ranking out today, given the ownership as well and the minutes, like I just it's safe is not the correct word, but like good enough, I guess. I again, like this is a weird slate. Like looking at the other forwards that we have Horton Tucker as the chalk, which is that safe? I probably wouldn't say so. Bogdanovich could sit that, so that's like not safe. MPJ, Aaron Gordon, they're probably too cheap, but like it is kind of a weird slate for forwards.
I will say, like, Fontecchio feels safer than THT in the sense that we're pretty sure he's still going to play his minutes. We haven't projected for
Yes.
34, and Fontecchio had a really, really, really bad game last time out, and they still gave him his normal rotation. So I don't have any fear of him losing minutes. Where THT, like, this guy seems like he has one of the shortest leashes in the entire NBA. You know, one turnover, and that might be it for him. But
Yeah.
there's a price difference. But I think like Fontecchio's safer than THT in the sense that he's going to be on the court, and we're pretty
Mhm.
confident about that.
What do you think about these other forwards that are pulling in? Like I wouldn't say a lot of ownership, but it's all spread out. Like, are you fine with MPJ? Are you fine with Aaron Gordon? Jonathan Isaac's been kind of a value play that's popped up a little bit lately. 3.7. Uh, it just feels thin tonight.
I'm interested in the two Denver guys, MPJ and Aaron Gordon. They both seem fine to me. And then
Mhm.
Jonathan Isaac, I actually didn't notice was kind of coming in chalky. I mean, he's put up 23, 25, 23, 20 in his last four games, playing 16 to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
I mean, on today's slate, I don't hate it. It's not the worst play.
Yeah, I kind of actually, I'm kind of okay with that
Yeah.
tonight for him. It makes sense.
Yeah, like usually I see Jonathan Isaac at 20% owned almost, and I would say like, what's the point? But in this matchup specifically right
Yeah,
now, on this slate, I think it's not bad to get some.
I feel like that's a good summary of my thoughts on the slate. It's like, yeah, good enough.
Yeah, this guy's fine. Sure,
Yeah.
do whatever.
Yeah. Uh, FanDuel wise, we are seeing a little bit more chalk. Banchero definitely feels like the easy play there, just a little bit too cheap there going against Toronto. That's kind of an easy way to get some exposure to that game. We're seeing the Miami guys gain a little bit more ownership there as well. Again, we're cutting off a game, so everyone else is just going to be a little bit higher owned. Brandon Miller going to be a little bit higher owned there as well. Nothing too much. I mean, Jaime Jaquez is probably the biggest difference between DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm not exactly sure why, because he's power forward eligible on DraftKings as well. It's not just a nature of a lot of the other good plays that we were getting on tonight's slate are in that late night game.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we saw this. Was it yesterday? They did a weird split too, and so I get it. I guess.
Yeah, and he's
Um,
not he's not someone I feel like as a must play tonight on FanDuel. He's been fine.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, for me, just good mid range GPP.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good matchup for him playing against Detroit. We love that.
Mm-hmm. Let's jump into some questions here. So, rather play Isaiah Stewart. Um, I don't know. He's been kind of lackluster lately as well. Do you like Stewart on tonight's slate?
5,300. The thing is, I never really like Isaiah Stewart. Uh, yeah, I'm not into it. I don't think the model was really either.
No,
So
he
it's all,
didn't pop too much. Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pivot though to pivot from Fontecchio to Stewart. Kind of different
Mhm.
plays, but the ownership difference. If you're making a bunch of lineups, you could take the risk in a couple or something.
Yeah. So we got this question here. Do you have any idea why Kate Cunningham was benched at the end of the last game? Foul trouble. It wasn't foul trouble, that's for sure.
Dude, it's so frustrating. I have no idea why. I'm sitting there like I needed 6 more PRA to hit like 4
Uh,
parlays, and it just like, what are you guys doing? This is a competitive game. Why are you pissing off your franchise player?
mhm.
I don't think he was hurt. We would have got news from Underdog if he was hurt.
And that's late night or late season NBA DFS. Like maybe they just want to get a look with a certain rotation or something stupid. Like
He was having a good game.
yeah. Jaden Ivey played well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's tough to say. So like nothing ever seems like safe late season NBA. And the safe plays like a week from now or 2 weeks from now are going to be like too cheap of plays or plays that are priced up that shouldn't be. So it's weird.
Oh, just wait until we have like I'm thinking like the Brooklyn Nets or Portland at the end of the season where their whole lineup is literally guys called up or on 2-way contracts where there's not a single actual NBA player, like literally though, not just
Yeah.
it's going to be fun, guys.
So yeah, I actually like that. Honestly, it makes it more rewarding, I guess, if you will, to
I
be on those.
guess.
So Bradley Beal, question mark here. So definitely a little bit too cheap on DraftKings. We can see that. Value wise, 13.6. I mean, that's pretty good. Not too high owned. He feels like this would be a safe play almost. I don't know. Like hey, against Charlotte on DraftKings, fine. FanDuel probably too high priced.
I mean, I could get behind that again in the sense that I don't think he's really going to like fail super hard. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just, what kind of ceiling does he have with KD and Book on the court? It's a cake matchup against Charlotte. It's only a 10-point spread. So, I mean, under 10% seems fine. It's like what's the pivot here? Colin Sexton. Yeah. So he's a pivot
Um,
off Colin Sexton, I
yeah,
guess. Keontae
yeah,
George, maybe.
yeah. You could play those three together. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely could.
any conviction plays on FanDuel. Um, the problem that I've seen with FanDuel is that I wouldn't say the ownership's wrong, but I don't like exactly love how chalky some plays are. Like Jalen Suggs seems to be too high owned. Terry Rozier, I don't exactly love that. Banchero, I like the chalk, but the chalk just seems a little bit too high on FanDuel. But at the same time, I kind of get it.
This first time I'm looking at FanDuel ownership today. It seems absurd that Paolo and Jimmy are both the top of ownership. I agree they're good plays, but for those two, like, is FanDuel that ugly today that these are the top 2 owned plays? Seems a little
Yeah,
absurd.
I mean, we can sort by value as well. Like Gary Trent's the best value, and so I
Mhm.
feel like that kind of sums it up as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn Flanagan. I mean, I didn't build on FanDuel today, so I don't know how it looks over there, but just scrolling through it, like nothing stands out immediately to me.
No, the ownership's high, the
Yeah.
values aren't really there. It's just kind of, I mean, kind of said a few times now. That's just the slate that we have today.
Yeah, if I was playing on FanDuel today, I imagine I would probably just come in under on some of these top owned guys and then get over on whoever the model likes, and that's
Mhm.
would probably be my whole strategy today.
Yeah. Um, Wendell Carter, that's another one. So we can jump into the centers here. So let's jump into that. So we kind of already mentioned today that we didn't exactly like the centers the past few slates, and it's kind of that slate again where everyone's kind of correct in terms of pricing, in terms of ownership. It seems like Carter against Toronto is definitely someone that's in play. Race out pretty well, only projected to get 27 minutes, so that problem is still there with him. Is he someone you're fine getting to?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so like my center exposure, I'm getting a lot of BAM, about 40%, and then I have 5 or 6 centers, all right around 10% owned. Wendell Carter is one of them. I think he's fine against Toronto.
Mhm.
Seems like a good matchup, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. So is that Bam just because you like the matchup going against Detroit and he's probably just slightly too cheap?
Yeah, I think it's the price. A lot of it is the price. It's just we don't have much to pay up for on this slate. And like I said, I'm playing a lot of Bones. Like I'm playing a lot of Sensabaugh. Apparently, I'm playing a bunch of like Jonathan Isaac. So we got to spend the salary somewhere. I mean, the other centers I'm getting to like Jalen Duran, Clint Capella, a little bit of Nick Richards, Bruno
Mhm.
Fernando, Jonas Valanciunas. I have no confidence in any center today. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's where honestly you could play if you wanted to go that low. You could just do Isaac, Jonathan Isaac, where just punt at center.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It's kind of awkward because it's like if any center has a good game tonight, how can I win if I have Jonathan Isaac in the center spot unless he puts up like 30 plus,
That's
which he
that's a good
hasn't.
point. That's a good
So
point.
it's a tough one for me. Like if I'm playing Isaac, I'm hoping that he's going to show up mostly in my power forward spots. And so just roll the dice there, I guess, and
No,
hope
that's a
for the
fair point.
best. I'll mention
Yeah,
Jonte Porter too. I'm getting a decent amount of Jonte Porter, but I think that's just a price thing too with him.
he's like the one player that the matchup sucks, but he's like the one player where his price probably hasn't risen for
Mhm.
his recent production. But and again, it's probably a matchup thing.
Yeah, terrible matchup.
It's yeah, that's fun slate, fun slate.
I want to mention one other guy. Have you thought about Alexei Pokashevsky at all?
No, no, I. Why do you like him today?
I kind of am interested. Yeah, I'm looking at him. Trying to pull up the minutes, but he's been playing. But he's been in the rotation after he got cut by the Thunder after 5 long years.
Dude, I used to play him a decent amount or have him in my builds to start like every single day. It seemed like for like 3 months straight because
Yeah,
he was
man.
always like getting minutes. So
Yeah, he played 27 minutes against Memphis the other day. He's on the Charlotte Hornets, if you guys didn't know. But he played 27 minutes the other day, took 5 shots, had 2 blocks of steal, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, put up 25 DK points in his 27 minutes. And so it's a pretty large risk. And he is pulling a little bit of ownership, but
yeah,
like Charlotte's kind of desperate right now. So feel like if he has a potential to run 27 minutes, I think that's a pretty good GPP spot.
heck, even if it's at his 16 minutes, I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's kind of
Uh,
like he's going to be under projected no matter what, anywhere you look in
yeah,
the industry today. Because no, like you can't project him for more than 20 minutes. It just doesn't make sense. But I mean, if we
mhm,
did, his value rating would be pretty high.
yeah, and this is kind of a good example of what I was trying to say earlier. It's just like you can't project him accurately, but it's kind of just something you have to do by hand.
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't
lot
like
of
that. I think
like
that's a good
what?
call out. I think that's a good call out.
Nice, nice. And we do have Bol Bol on the other side too, if you want to get super saucy.
Did you see Shaq's clip with the cereal and stuff celebrating Bobo
N-
having a
no,
good game? Yeah, Shaq busted out some like fruity pebbles and put tea in it and started eating it just because Bobo had like a good first half or something. It was weird. It was
is
a
that
weird segment.
is that like Bol Bol's favorite breakfast or something?
I don't know. I was super confused. It was
It's his
just weird.
favorite childhood meal.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. That feels probably too thin, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean he's there,
Mm,
so we'll see. I
that's
think we did get Eric Gordon ruled out though, did we? Or is he playing? We got one of the two. Eric Gordon.
I'll refresh on my end too. Um, I'm not seeing it pop up
Yeah, Eric
just yet.
Gordon's in. Eric Gordon is in.
Okay. Um, let's see. Let's jump into some more questions here. Isaac and Deontay Porter, great value for tonight's slate. Yeah, it should be fine.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. Zion looked good tonight? Question mark. He's decent. I mean, it's kind of the same situation I think we've had with them this whole year. It's like they're all kind of probably a little too cheap. All could present us some pretty decent upside.
I'm pretty interested in Zion today. With all my Clippers exposure, I do kind of like running it back, getting oh, I'm way over the field on Zion right now. Yeah, it's a GPP risk though. I mean, it kind of ties into my James Harden take. Like Zion could still get there if James Harden plays, but those
Mhm.
lineups will be dead because I'll have Bones anyway. So
Yeah. I do find it funny, Larry Nance at the middle of the season, if he was 3.6 and getting 22 minutes, I would have been all over that.
Yeah, so are his minutes down right now?
He's projected to get 22. He just hasn't been producing like he
Mhm.
was during the middle of the season.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just he seems fine though. Like,
Yeah, I will mention like Jonas Valanciunas is $5,100 on DraftKings, and I've been playing a few percent of him every day, and he just doesn't play enough minutes. But like his price is so good right now.
it's all the Pels. They're all like too cheap. Like Brandon Ingram could have a good game. That wouldn't be shocking at all.
Mhm.
He's kind of just been hitting his floor. CJ McCollum basically been doing that as well. Been a little bit more hit or miss, but like that's why he's cheaper, right? And then yeah, JVal, its price has really come down. So they're kind of an annoying team, but at the same time, there's risk reward there.
Yeah, I don't mind getting to Brandon Ingram either.
Let's see here. So Wendell Carter against Toronto, and then seems to smash against Kelly O. Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, I wouldn't say that's my favorite center play, but it's not my one of my favorite center plays. It's just that's where we're at today.
Does he kind of feel like Mike Conley to you, where I never hate seeing him in a lineup, but it's not usually a guy I'm going out of my way to play?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Although for today, I feel like it's slightly different given the matchup with Toronto. But I think that's a great analogy there.
Yeah.
Rumor is that Cade wanted Sasser to get playing time. That would actually be fascinating, but that would also be like, why? Don't do that. Like what?
Dude, all this losing has warped Cade's perception of reality. It's weird.
What's the difference between a punt play and a value play? I mean, they're kind of the same to me. A value play is someone that's actually popping up as somewhat of a good play that you can like kind of easily project is going to be a good value. A punt play, you're kind of just hoping that the data is wrong pretty much so that he produces better than what the projections are saying. Is that kind of how you?
Yeah, like I don't know if I consider THT a good value play, but like usually good value plays are the guys near the top of value, and then punts. I think of guys like Trey Lyles, who their situation hasn't really changed, but maybe he has a good game today.
Yeah, spike game.
Yeah.
So we kind of just mentioned this. I don't know. Is that why you brought it up from Peter B or for Alexei?
Oh no, I didn't see his question.
So yeah, we kind of just said he's a good value punt play, for, so makes sense. This is a good question. So who do you guys think won't exceed expectations, Jokic or Wemby? I mean, they're going up against each other, right? I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check.
I don't know if I got to any of them. Like I wanted to get to Jokic, but I don't know. It wouldn't give it to me. Yeah, I didn't get any Wemby either.
It's yeah, I feel like I would rather be on Jokic than Wemby because I feel like he could just dominate him tonight. But Wemby's pretty cheap there as well. It's just you can easily fit them in too. It's not like there's not enough value out there tonight.
Yeah. I mean, Jokic 11%. I think he had a bad game last time, but that doesn't mean anything for today. He's like the highest player in the offense. Him and Wemby are actually top 2 on the model, only guys above 10K. So
yeah,
I mean, low owned. If the value hits, then yeah, why not?
So like I could see them both kind of getting to their expectations. I wouldn't say either of them are not going to get there. To answer your question though, Jokic does rank out better both value wise and OF index wise.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we have some love for Duncan Robinson. So with that, let's go and get into a first look build. So are you fine? I guess Keontae George, I do want to put into a build. Is that fine with you?
Yeah.
And then that's really where that's where my conviction goes. I'm fine with Colin Sexton. I'm kind of open to really a lot.
Well, yeah, Colin Sexton showing up near the top of my stuff. My exposures are pretty contrarian today, so I don't know if I should contribute too much to the actual core.
I hear you. It's
DeJounte?
ugly.
Is DeJounte good enough for here? Is it 9,500 on DK?
I think so. He is chalk. Is this baked into maybe Bogdanovich potentially sitting? Is that part of it?
I'm not sure. I feel like it's not yet because Bogdanovich was still in the model, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure his ownership's going to show up a little bit higher. But I mean, 34%, it's kind of high, but it seems
Yeah.
reasonable, right?
Like, I don't know, would you rather get to like Jokic or Wemby that rank out better in the OF index that we can kind of, I don't want to say lock in 50-ish points, but around there, at least from Jokic and maybe 45 from Wemby, rather than trying to shoot for that upside with Murray? I guess that's why Murray's kind of high owned as well, because it's somewhat of the same thing.
Yeah, let's try it with Jokic, top of the model.
Okay, let's do that. Do you want to put Bones in there, or you think that's too risky for this?
No, maybe we can do
Yeah.
like a 2v2 swap with Bones at the end, but for this purpose, I don't.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fair. So I do like Brandon Miller, but on DraftKings, he's really not popping up too much ownership wise. That feels like more of an ownership leverage spot rather than needing to go crazy with it. Do you like Fontecchio? Do you like Bruce Brown, Gary Trent? Those are all kind of plays we could get to.
I think we should probably get it to at least one of those guys. They're all showing up like top 8 on the value model.
Yeah,
Your pick.
I'll go Gary Trent. I guess I know he's
Okay.
a guard, but I don't know. I guess we could go Bruce Brown as well. That kind of feels like a coin toss. Gary Trent, I guess, has a longer leash with me, I guess, which sounds weird. I guess I have no reason for that either. He's coming in off of an injury. So I'm going to flip to Bruce Brown, I guess.
I mean, I
We'll go
see
Bruce Brown.
42 minutes, 36 minutes in his last 2 games.
Do you think he's going to play that today? I mean, like, will he be hindered by
No idea.
that injury at all? I mean, we haven't projected for 33.
I mean, I have no idea. I
I'm
usually
gonna,
assume if they're good to go, they're good to go.
yeah.
Off a
We'll go.
short
We'll
injury.
go Gary Trent, I guess. Then, all right. So we have 3 forward spots to fill. We got power forward, small forward, and forward.
Like Jonathan Isaac on the other side of that Toronto game.
That's actually what I was thinking. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. That feels pretty decent tonight.
And then we throw in a THT in there.
Yeah, I just don't like that. It feels a lot like I don't want to say Dylan Brooks, but kind of like Horton Tucker's under 4K tonight. Like he should, in theory, not be hurting you that much, even if he, doesn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with it, but it's like he could easily not be in the winning lineup, and that wouldn't shock me at all.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
And I don't know. I know we're already playing Jokic, but I kind of want to get to Carter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of was
let's do
talked
it.
into that during this video. He's 5.5.
Are we still cool keeping with Isaac too?
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of fine with it. Like, I know they don't probably correlate, but this is the ugly slate that we have.
And we got Fontecchio right there, 5,300 at forward.
Honestly,
Easy
right?
game.
That's the move. It's like an ugly good build for tonight's first look build.
It's not a bad small field lineup. I mean, probably different, just different enough if you're playing like the 100-mans.
Yeah,
While still playing a bunch of the chalk.
Yeah, I mean, you get Jokic, who probably will be the highest scorer on the slate as well. So
probably by 10.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here: Nick Richards or Grant Williams. Wait. To answer that question, I think it's Grant Williams, but we got power with some other news. So he's saying Harden's out. Did we get that?
Oh, too early, dude. Too early, man. This could have been the best day of the whole NBA freaking season.
For you.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. I'm so upset.
Bones Highland will start.
Dude.
Confirmed already.
If we got this news in 31 minutes, man, that could have been everything. Like, so here's the thing. Bones is still not going to come in at the ownership he would deserve if we had this news 5 hours ago. And so, I mean, I was already playing basically 100% Bones. Nothing's going to change now. I'm still going to play 100% Bones.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's been burning me a couple times recently. Super frustrating, but
I'm kind of fine. I'm fine with that strategy, honestly. If it's something you always do, like.
Yeah, I mean, I go pretty extremes in my ownership. So it's like last night, I had one lineup near the top, and then the other 39 were like not cashing, and so it's definitely a swingy way to play. But it just I think he's the best play by a mile. So and he's going to be high owned. I want all the leverage possible, which is play him in every lineup I make.
Oh man, that is just crazy though.
It's upsetting.
That is.
Well, now the question too is kind of like are most people going to end up playing Bones and THT in the same lineup? Like, is there a decision there to be made? THT is $500 cheaper.
Yeah,
we have other guys in the range, I guess. It's like, and like the thing I mentioned earlier about like the other point guard ownership, all the other point guards are going to be lower owned now than they're probably projecting or than they deserve because everyone's going to swap to Bones now.
Yeah. The thing with Horton Tucker is that he's a forward, so I don't think his ownership's going to change too much. Like if you're going for a value forward, so Bones is just point guard eligible. So, but to your point, like I hope that brings down like Keontae George a little bit, Colin Sexton. Real quickly though, so this isn't going to update. Let's just end the live stream kind of breaking down this again. So Bones Highland's going to be your number one here. Is it going to be Paul George next, then Kawhi? I guess just rank them. And then also we got Powell and Terrence Mann as pretty good-ish GPP plays.
I have a lot of Paul George right now, and then I'm getting a bit of Kawhi. But it might just be a position thing. I'm not consciously deciding I like PG more than Kawhi, but I am getting more Paul George, a lot more Paul George than I am Kawhi. But I want to be over on both of them, and then I'm probably going to ride that Zion call a little bit harder now too.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's see here. So something we kind of already.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, but something about Paul George handling the ball a little bit more recently, too. Russell Westbrook's still out, so something to keep in mind with James Harden out, too.
Yeah, he feels too cheap. We'll just answer Power's question. Yeah, we think he's a fine GPP value play. If you're getting there, we wouldn't talk you out of it.
Yeah. Yep. It's funny, though. There was a player that a couple of people asked about on one of the previous slates that was kind of just kind of random. I don't remember if they worked out, but that's interesting if you guys are taking that thought process today with Poku.
3 different people asking about an 8% on play.
Yeah, you got to love it, dude. Watch him. He's breaking the slate or he's putting up 6. There's no in between.
Exactly. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here other than the Clippers?
No, just make sure you get all your stuff in before lock.
Good point. Yeah, that's fair. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the Discord chat. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Thanks.
See you guys.